Okay, guys, I just wanted to tell you that, well, me and the large team of people that helped me produce this show, you can tell from the production quality that it's a large team of people, okay? Producers, directors, makeup people, cinematographers, assistant producers, all that crap, dude. Um, we all have a saying here at the channel, which is all praise is due to the YouTube algorithm. We do what it says. It lights the path, and thou shalt follow thy path. So what the YouTube algorithm, I feel like, has been telling me to do is just keep making more Tim Pool videos, which is I'm more than happy to do it because he just seems to provide endless content. And it's odd because he's doing the same thing. We're all just doing the same thing. We're all just doing what this YouTube machine tells us to do, and it whips us and, sprays us with water and tases us, and we just say, yes, YouTube, well, I'll do whatever you say. So the first thing, he goes on this guy, Ben Shapiro. By the way, this video was uploaded today. Look at the views on this thing. 500,000 already, just in a couple hours. By the time I upload this, it's going to have 1 million. This thing. The two titans of philosophy and thinking, Benny Shapiro and Timothy Pool, the Pool Man, the Pool Boy. Okay, so all I want to do is just kind of take a critical look at what over 1 million people, what information they're getting here from this battle, this clash of titans.
Recount. So it doesn't really make sense to say Joe Biden won when there's a legal process, happening. Several states are too close to call still. The media has just decided, this is it, Joe Biden won, it's over.
Okay, so they uploaded this video Sunday. That's November 15th, 2020, year of our Lord, they uploaded this. The Friday before they uploaded this, there were 3 important court cases happened for this legal battle, the Trump legal battle against the election. And that's Michigan, Pennsylvania, Arizona. All 3 of those, they lost miserably. The one semi-victory was in Pennsylvania. They kind of pushed a small number of ballots to the side that they were just kind of contesting because of a long, boring thing that makes pretty much no sense. It's literally just they're trying to get rid of votes on technicalities, okay? So a small number of them were set aside, and they, I guess, are not going to count those. But still, here's the interesting thing. Those make it nowhere, just losing those makes it nowhere near Trump is going to win. So it's over. It's over. The lawyers who are litigating these cases for Trump, on behalf of the Trump administration, won't even say in court that there was voter fraud. They won't even say that there were irregularities or anything like that because they're afraid of losing their license. It's such a nonsensical nuisance suit that they don't want to lose their license by committing to any of the stuff that Trump is saying publicly. So that's where we're at with that, and he's still going on about this. Unbelievable. I mean, it really is anti-news. It's like, hey, do you want to get less informed? Do you want to know what's going on less? Watch this channel.
Results in certain states or impropriety at a certain level. So it's almost like they're trying to tell us Joe Biden won to convince us because it's not over. The certification hasn't happened for the states yet, let alone for the election as a whole and then choosing the electors.
He's like, the mainstream media is trying to convince us. Well, okay, they can be trying to convince you, or you could just look at the count. You could look at the count and see that this one guy is ahead of another guy, and then you could say, oh, but the lawsuits, well, then you can go look at where the lawsuits are, and then you can make a decision. You don't really even have to listen to the media. And if you do both of those things, both of those kind of not listening to the media things, he lost, dude. I'm sorry. I know that it's tragic because he was doing such great things that we can't really name on these channels. Have a hard time actually naming any of the policies that really help to the people. But why can't he just stay forever? And again, of course, this is not to say that Joseph Biden is going to be the greatest president ever. I really do not think that. I'm not a Joseph Biden fan, not a Joseph Biden supporter. Not excited about him. Don't think he's going to be very good. Don't think he's going to do the things that need to be done. But Trump lost, guys. I'm sorry. The other funny thing about this is that they keep saying, like, the media lies. The media. Like, dude, you just got 500,000 views in like 4 hours. You are the media, my dude. You are the media, and you have super wealthy backers in the oil industry and all this crap. The right wing, corporate welfare system that pays you to produce this show. Dude, you're the media. They're like these evil people in the media. Anyway, thank you, and please subscribe, and also VPN. Go to vpn.com to download. Put in my code, Benny Shapiro. I mean, this idea that there's a mainstream media, like one media that everybody listens to, is like, what is this, like 1991 or like 1980 or something? Like, no, people get their media from like God knows what. They're on like, QFansamerica.com.
You can't just ignore that and say, we will do nothing. You have to let people know we're doing everything in our power to clean up any potential errors so they view this election as legitimate. I mean, if Joe Biden really does get certified as the winner, he gets inaugurated, but they don't look into this stuff, it would undermine his presidency. Because
he's just worried about the sanctity of the beautiful, gorgeous elections in our beautiful democracy. That's all it is. It's nothing weird. Remember, this was just like a couple months ago.
If Joe Biden wins, they'll take over all our cultural institutions. They'll put psychotic and insane definitions in our dictionary, and they will take over, and regular Americans will say, please, for the love of God, just leave me alone. And they never will. They'll never stop coming. They will take your job away. They will come for your parents. You will do something wrong. They'll fire your mom. They'll come to your house with fireworks and guns, and Americans will still just say, please, just leave me alone. And that's how it is. Even in the Revolutionary War, most people, the largest majority of people, were non-initiated.
Dragging the Revolutionary War into this. So look, he's just like, look, I don't care who wins. I just want to make sure the election is sanctified and beautiful, and it gets blessed. That's all I want. But if Joe Biden wins, they're going to basically just kill you. They're going to basically come to your house, put fireworks in your house, and personally tase you. But I don't care about that. It's just I want the elections to be ship-shape sanctified. So, I mean, and obviously, the real weird, creepy, authoritarian stuff is pretty much what they're doing now, even if you just looked at the voting stuff. Because what they're doing now is they've openly admitted in court that it's not fraud, that they're not looking for fraud. There's absolutely no evidence of fraud. What they're looking for is little places where they can try to make a legal case that maybe they could get a few people who just voted, people who just went out and did their democratic duty of voting to get those thrown out. That's all it is. Okay, so they start talking about Antifa next, and I'll just give you my opinion. Like, to be honest, this is my honest opinion about the group Antifa. Now, I will say anti-fascists, of course, I mean, World War II, any U.S. fighter was behaving as an anti-fascist. And there's a long history of very important anti-fascism. Look up I can never remember if it's the Group of 42 or Group of 43, but they were these pilots and, various Jewish ex-military people who were living in London, I think. And they came back from the war and they found out that there was kind of a fascist sentiment still going on, and they would go and fight these people. So there's a long history of this stuff, and it's obvious. I mean, literally, any of the Allied powers were behaving as anti-fascist. Like, so there's that. But my opinion on like modern sort of what they call Antifa is, I think that they're small enough to basically be irrelevant, and they are not really doing anything that's really subverting the system as it exists now. I think mostly what it appears to be, and maybe I don't know enough about it, is that they do a lot of like social media fighting, and they'll go out and they'll like throw a milkshake at like a social media guy or whatever. I think their hearts are probably in the right place, and of course, like, the real thing also is that like everyone should be anti-fascist. Like, we've kind of seen where fascism goes. Not great, not great. Everybody should be anti-fascist. What they're doing, they've created a kind of a boogeyman out of a teeny tiny group of people that barely exists, to scare their 90-year-old viewers into thinking that, this group that you basically have to seek out. You have to seek out, and you're like holding your phone up to them and be like, hey, throw something at me so I can get clicks. That they're going to come to your house and they're basically going to steal your cat, and they're going to steal your ferret, and they're going to take your PS5, and they're basically going to pee on it, all of it. And there's nothing you could do about it because they're everywhere. That's kind of what they're doing. It's a trick, but the reality of it, it's a tiny group that's basically irrelevant, I would say. But him explaining anti-fascism is amazing. Just like, listen to this.
So, to put it simply, antifa is the symbols they use, the ideology. Typically, you'll find many of these people are authoritarian communists. And I'm not trying to exaggerate.
Where did he get this information? Authoritarian communists. By the way, like, authoritarian communism, that's probably like 4 people in the United States.
Stupid. Oh, they're all communists. No, like they're literally, they believe in authoritarian communism. But it's rooted in, pre-World War II Germany, Weimar Germany, where you had the Communist Party had their anti-fasciste action, and it was challenging the fascists.
So you got to remember the OG fascist was this guy Mussolini in Italy, and there were anti-fascist groups when he rose to power. So this would be before the Germans. And it wasn't solely communist, although, communists and socialists were very important in anti-fascist movements in Italy, of course. But it was not solely communist and socialist. There was Christian groups, there was normal people. It was just, people were watching this guy Mussolini rise to power. There were a lot of people who didn't like it and would join anti-fascist groups. So this is, correct me if I'm wrong, if you're a historian out there, I'm not a historian, but this part I'm pretty interested in and I've read a lot about, and I'm pretty sure we got to go back to Italy on this one, and I'm pretty sure, of course, communists and socialists were very important, but they were not it. They were not it. There were lots of other people involved, so...
It's rooted in, pre-World War II Germany, Weimar Germany, where you had the Communist Party had their anti-fasciste action, and it was challenging the fascists. They use the same symbols. They create small individual groups with, they say no leaders. They have leaders, they do. And then they coordinate for various actions. They call them nationwide. So ultimately what you have are political zealots who believe in the use of violence for political gain and terror, for political gain. What they'll do is they'll tell you, and they'll have allies.
It's kind of weird. I have to point out that it's kind of weird that he just like blurred through the history of fascism, of anti-fascism, and didn't really totally distinguish like, oh, so anyway, it's based on all that stuff from Italy and Germany and Spain. It's based on all that stuff, but it's not that. It almost sounds like he's kind of lumping it all together, which is, I'm not saying he's necessarily doing that, but it's a little too close, hopefully, because it's difficult, because his narrative is that these are the bad guys. These anti-fascist groups that he's talking about in the United States today they're the bad guys to him, and the boogeyman. If you watch his channel and look at his tweets and all, they're the bad guys. So I think it presents a really difficult problem for him, where he needs to kind of, because it's hard to say, like, look, historically, these have obviously been the good guys. Spain, Italy, Germany, like, of course, those are the good guys. And so these, like, okay, they used to be the good guys, but now, oh, why exactly that? Because hamana. So I feel like he just kind of like rushed through, didn't really distinguish. So it's a little too close for comfort to just kind of be lumping all anti-fascist groups together and then invalidating them, because those are like the heroes of, the 1900s, basically. I don't know, Tim. Also pretty interesting after World War II. If you ever get a chance, if you've never heard of this, very interesting, look up the 43 group. They were Jewish soldiers in World War II who came back to London, and they were British guys. They came back to London, and they found that there were fascist groups in London, and they would go and fight them, basically. And honestly, they would use, it would be pretty similar to what's the kind of stuff that happens today with antifa groups, just kind of fighting in the streets and stuff. But the group, the 43 group, were Jewish guys, and they were like, we just fought these Nazis over in Germany. We're not having this here. And it wasn't nice. They weren't nice about it. They would really just like roll up on these guys. And that's an important part of the history too. Just a side note there. Really, this just feels like such lazy, easy content on my part, because their target audience, I can't see anybody else besides like a 70-year-old crank in his in his easy chair or whatever in the middle of the country somewhere, being like, yeah, I'm sick. I'm so scared of those Antifa coming to get me. I'm so scared of those BLM coming to get me. Hey, dude, you live in literally the middle of nowhere. You live nowhere near a major city. You're never even going to see them besides on the internet. Yeah, but I'm still scared. Still scared of them. So please, YouTube clickbaiters, please tell me more so I get a little emotional rush. Oh, yeah.
They're live action role playing. They're not aware. They're not actually doing anything. But I will say what I find funny about, the Black Lives Matter stuff we've seen this past year is they're mostly white. It's mostly upper middle class, suburban, white, young progressives.
Yeah. So here I go wasting my time fact checking this. This is from Pew Research. Black adults most likely to express strong support for Black Lives Matter. And you see this right here? This white support is a little bit lower. It's because of doofuses like this guy and his stupid friend. Let's look at them. It's because of these two pukes. Because some people are like, I don't know, I saw this nice young man did a video, and he said that they're actually terrorists. So, boo, support goes down. Check this out too. Among white adults, 2% of Republicans strongly support, 14% mild support, somewhat support. Unbelievable. That is, whew. Hey, a viral video of the police brutally murdering a guy went viral, and there were worldwide protests against it. The best quote from that whole thing is from Cornel West, who was like, if people didn't get really mad about that, seeing that, and they just kind of sat there and were like, whatever, that would be creepy. That would be some Black Mirror stuff. But people were obviously upset. They went out on the streets. They did the right thing, blah, 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 blah. But these people are like, I don't know. Doesn't seem like that much of a big deal. So it's like very low bar on YouTube. These people whine and complain and bellyache blah, 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 about how they're censored on social media. You can literally lie. You can just make stuff up. Oh, actually, it's mostly white people support Black Lives Matter. No fact check, no source or anything. I just believe that, and I say it. You can say whatever you want. You're not being censored. You can clearly you can say whatever you want. Look at this. Let's look again at the count. 500,000. Actually, let's just refresh. So we got 585,000. Let's just refresh and see what we get.
Or thousands of tons.
Oh, just jumped up to 600,000. You can say whatever you want, dude. You guys are the opposite. You're under-censored as far as I'm concerned.
But also Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter itself is considered to be a wonderful movement. There's been a game that you mentioned there, this sort of semantic overload that has been placed on the term Black Lives Matter, which, as I've pointed out on my show, means three separate things, one of which is completely unobjectionable and two of which are rather objectionable, one of which is the idea that black people's lives matter, which of course everybody agrees with unless you're a complete piece of human dreck. Second, the Black Lives Matter actual organization, which is a far left communist organization in its inception and
it's not an organization. Again, no, there's no censoring. You're allowed to say whatever you want. It's not there's no organization. It's literally, I mean, there are like websites and places you can donate and stuff, but if you go out, if I went out right now, I got 2 people to go with me, and I'm like, hey, we're gonna go do a Black Lives Matter protest. We're Black Lives Matter. There's no, there's no like, oh, you can go to the Black Lives Matter headquarters, in Washington, D.C. and hey, I would like to see the head of Black Lives Matter, please. And a guy comes down, he's like, hi. It's a decentralized thing. This is just straight up inaccurate, straight up wrong. But hey, no censorship. Don't worry, dude. You're free to spread as much nonsense as you want on this platform to misinform elderly people. I mean, there are a list of policies on some of these websites, like Movement for Black Lives and all that stuff, and it's pretty obvious stuff, and a lot of it's just stuff from research, like Divest Invest, which is, hey, stop just policing us, which is proven not to work and proven to be a negative thing, and invest in communities, stuff like this, stuff that's pretty obvious. I mean, it really is like, I don't know how, as a platform, you deal with this kind of stuff. Just straight up misinformation and fear mongering and stuff like this. I don't know how you deal with it. I mean, my guess is just leave it and hope that people fact check it, but they're not going to. And a lot of this is just sort of confirmation bias stuff. So, man, I don't know. But like, if I had a website, I wouldn't want this stuff on here because it is just straight up making people stupider. And I guess just as a little side note, this is just sort of a little side note recommendation. If you're going to be super, super against something like Black Lives Matter, be careful what you tweet. Be careful what you tweet. If you wear your pants below your butt, don't bend the brim of your cap and have an EBT card, 0% chance you will ever be a success in life. And I love that Benjamin Dixon, whenever he writes something like this, Benjamin Dixon is right there to tweet back at him. And this, of course, this is might be the best one. Responding to the dog whistle there. Not really a dog whistle, though. But the other thing that's funny about this is the whole thing of like, if you don't bend the brim of your cap and you wear your pants a certain way, then you deserve to starve to death. It's like, I thought these guys, like, the argument for like right-wing stuff was like individuality and freedom, and you should be free to pursue your own individuality, but only if it's like getting rid of the EPA or something. If you want to have a different fashion sense, no, then you deserve to starve to death. These people, man. These people exist. I mean, honestly, like, I would feel like I'm just sort of like, swinging at a ghost or knocking on some open door or something if it weren't like 1 million viewers in 2 days for this crap. I mean, it's amazing. It's amazing. That's why you got to subscribe to this channel. See, it all comes around to just blatant self-interest. Here's another one. If I just hate Black Lives Matter movement just because I think some of their policies are misled. Then maybe go back and scrub some of these tweets, buddy. I love Benjamin Dixon is always on it. Oh, man. I mean, it's shocking. It's shocking that this guy has so many followers. I mean, part of it is because he has these sort of shadowy figures propping him up with tons of money. But, I mean, man, like millions of views and 2 million subscribers and all this stuff. And the dude is living in like the mid 1800s. Unbelievable. Okay, this is truly bizarre. This is truly bizarre, this next clip. And I almost don't know what to say or make of it. It's just, here we go. Let's watch it.
What I see happening is it's also with Facebook. It's with keyword stuffing and algorithmic boosting that we see through Facebook. Certain posts that have certain words are more likely to get shares and more likely to appear. You end up with a very small faction of hyperactive internet users posting on Twitter trying to get likes. And so what happens is you'll see ridiculous stories like there was one from the Huffington Post that said, there may be a video of Donald Trump in an elevator doing something. What is that thing? We don't know. Where is the elevator? We have no idea. And does the video exist? We're not sure. They actually wrote that article.
So this is astonishing because he's literally describing himself too here. I mean, this guy posts a massive amount of content to the internet and it's totally following the algorithm. It's all scaremongering stuff about, BLM, or it's scaremongering stuff about the election. And it all has clickbaity titles and clickbaity thumbnails and all this stuff. And as we saw with the election stuff, it's totally a misinformation bubble. So, homie just described his whole thing. Here's a great one. Mail-in voting backfire. Backfire on Dems gives Trump huge advantage. It's the exact opposite of what happened. Holy moly. Trump might win in a landslide, destroying trust in media for generations. Okay, you're extra lucky because we're going to do double trouble video today. Here's another video I was watching that he put up. Check this out. This is fascinating.
Host Joe Scarborough said the American people do not like the Democrats. And, well, he essentially said their brand doesn't work.
Okay, he's going to keep going, but this is generally true. It's so weird, and I'll talk about this later, but it's so weird to see a state like Florida vote for Republicans. It's a red state. They're voting for a bunch of Republicans, and at the same time, voting for a $15 minimum wage, which the Republicans are totally opposed to. It's like, what the fuck's going on here? But that tells you what you need to know. Like, yes, they do hate the Democrats, but it's not for really any policy reasons. It's bizarre and incoherent. That's the politics of the United States.
And he's right. It's becoming increasingly difficult to understand what they even really want. I mean, you've got AOC saying defund the police, and then you got Manchin saying defund my butt. No joke. Literally, he said that. And I think it's kind of obvious. New York and West Virginia, I mean, they kind of clash. They don't live the exact same ways. And AOC is a politician for the internet, much like Donald Trump is kind of a politician for the internet. But AOC doesn't represent most of what this country wants.
Okay, so let's just fact check that. The AOC's views, somebody like AOC's views don't represent the majority of Americans. This has been, there's been a ton of studies on this and they always come up with the same thing. Majority of Americans support progressive policies such as higher minimum wage, free college. This is from CNBC. Check out this graph. This will tell you everything you need to know. Paid maternity leave, 84%. Government funding for childcare, 75%. Boosting minimum wage, 60%. Tuition-free state public college, 57%. Medicare for all, 54%. Universal basic income goes down to 28%. But look at these. All these are the AOC policies right here. All this. This is like the Bernie Sanders AOC stuff right here. And he's saying, Americans don't want that except for 54, 57, 60, 75, 84%. I mean, look at this. This is a majority right here. 54%. The basically Marxist position of Medicare for all, 54%. And he's saying most Americans don't want it. Come on, man. Come on. What is this? What are you doing? Again, this just goes back to remind us these are the people who, they're being censored. We're not allowed to say what we want. We're being censored. That you can this just proves again you can literally say whatever you want. As long as you're not going full on, wearing a Hitler mustache and, harassing the families of dead children, you can pretty much do whatever you want. And we'll just back up a little bit here because what he's talking about is interesting. I mean, this is actually like really interesting stuff, but he kind of like sucks what's interesting out of it and makes it just a boring partisan issue. But here, I'll play some
My
of this.
friends, it has finally started. The Civil War. No, not that one. Not like a real civil war. No, a civil war in the Democratic Party. Okay, to be fair, they've kind of been in some kind of civil war for quite some time. But this is a figurative civil war, meaning the Democrats are facing a reckoning with their woke insanity and how it is.
Okay, so the way that he's framing this, he's like, look, the Democrats are going to have to face a civil war because there's this quote vague, in his terms, there's this vague thing called woke that's like it's ruining the Democratic Party. He's been talking about this on his channel for like a month. How something called wokeness is ruining the Democratic Party. But what's really going on, if you look at those policies and you look at the fact that Florida put in a $15 minimum wage despite being a Republican state, is what really is actually going on is far more interesting, which is you have a conservative monolith in our government, really, and then a tiny group of people representing real people, which would be Bernie and the squad. I mean, that's, and regardless of whether you agree with those people who or which side you agree with, that's just the fact. That's just the situation. That's the political situation. To me, it's far more interesting than what he's talking about because it's an ideological battle. And to be honest, like, even if you disagree whether or not AOC is truly trying to get these things done, or whether or not she's just a celebrity or blah blah blah, regardless of all that, the fact is the people even only giving this stuff lip service, the stuff that the majority of people in this country want, like the things I just read, there's only a tiny group of people representing that. I mean, it's amazing and it's bizarre. But either way, it's far more interesting than the kind of boring narrative he's giving here of like, ooh, they don't like that, you know, they're putting girls in action movies. They put a girl in a video game, so that's why the Democratic Party is in trouble. So all this is considered far left, despite being the majority opinion. So what he does, I don't know why he does this besides to get clicks, or maybe he's got some financial interest in this somehow, but you know, well, he definitely does. I think he's making millions of dollars from YouTube or whatever, but and Patreon. But all this stuff is not like woke left stuff. In fact, a lot of people who are considered left in this country like hate all the woke stuff. They just want Medicare for all, which the majority of the country wants, free college, majority, boost in minimum wage, majority. I mean, this is. So he's presenting this like weird false choice that it seems like a lot of people are falling for. But, you know, I mean, at the same time, like both of these parties are fighting the group that wants these majority positions. So, you know, the group that he most demonizes is the one that's actually, at least in rhetoric, fighting for these people.
And Democrats recently had a phone call wondering what happened, where one woman actually broke down crying and another said, if we don't stop talking about this defund the police woke nonsense, we're going to effing lose the House in 2022.
Okay. The defund the police woke nonsense. This, just think about this before I get into the next thing. Like, what are your suspicions about this? About the idea of defund the police? Because they're about to, whatever your thoughts are, I believe they're about to be confirmed. This is from Vox. Do Americans support defunding the police? It depends how you ask the question. Of course. So when you ask the question, hey, do you want to defund the police? People say, I don't know. What if a murderer is trying to get me? Who do I call? I don't know who to call in that case. Obviously, that's the obvious response. But what if you say, instead of you using that bad branding term, defund the police, what if you say, hey, how about if we redirect some of those police funds for social programs so that we can avoid crime in the first place? People are like, that sounds fine. Yeah, go for it. I just asked you the same question. Hey, how about instead of tossing homeless people in jail and cycling them in and out of jails, we just give them a home which is actually less expensive? Man, that sounds fine. That sounds fine. Okay, then technically you want to defund the police.
This political ideology is the ideology of Twitter. Regular working class people.
This far left ideology is the political ideology of Twitter and the majority of Americans when polled.
Don't like it. Regular working class people, surprise, surprise, like what the Republicans are offering, and they do like Donald Trump's.
They absolutely do not. Like, again, look at Florida. $15 minimum wage. That's totally in contrast to what the Republicans believe. It's completely 100% anti-Republican. They all hate the idea of raising the minimum wage. But they love the Republican Party somehow.
Policies, but I tell you, man, most of the time when I talk to my friends who voted against Trump, they didn't really vote for Biden. They just didn't like Trump. They said it was because of the way he speaks. That's true. Most people, I shouldn't say most, but many of these people voting for the Democrats, low information voters.
So you have the choice between Joe Biden and Trump. These are two bad choices. This is the real, what he's talking about. This is like the truth version. You have two bad choices. Joe Biden, huge supporter of the Iraq war, cheerleader for the Iraq war. President Trump, completely incompetent Republican who didn't do anything. He talks about when there's a few times where he'll say, here's the real reasons I support Trump. Middle East peace deals and the economy. Two things that literally he cannot explain what Trump did for those two things. In the Middle East, he almost started a war in Iran. He pulled out of the Iran nuclear deal and disastrous policies in Israel. The economy, look at any graph for the economy. He followed a bunch of trends from Obama and didn't manage a pandemic at all. So now we have an economic crash. I mean, like, what are you talking about, dude? So again, the idea that like Biden's a bad option and Trump's a good option. No, they're both bad options. That's like the only rational thing to take from this, I think. Even if we follow what he's saying, it's like they're two bad options. I mean, listen, how many people watch this? Over 250,000 in just one day. And check out what he's about to say.
And so they support the warmonger corporate coastal elite Joe Biden, who's going to bring back all.
He's still saying this stuff. The dude lost the election and he's still saying this stuff. I'm born a millionaire, basically, from New York. But Joe Biden's a quote-unquote coastal elite. This is the most goofy, false choice I've ever heard. Like, you either get this coastal elite snob who's always riding around in his limousine, unlike cool guy Trump, who goes around in he's actually a plumber. He's actually a plumber, and he drives around in a pickup truck in a good old USA. He's not an elite like these other elites. No, not at all. By the way, I don't like the word elite. I don't know if anybody else has this, but the word elite, it seems like a gamer, like a really good gamer or something. Like when we're talking about these people, they're like, they're one of the top scorers at Black Duty Call of Ops. So there you go. He goes on to talk about Bill Maher, which nope, not going to do it. I'm going to go ahead and do what they call tapping out at that point because I feel like I've had it and I'm not going to deal with it. So there you go. Everybody's favorite misinformationist, the person who, if you watch, you'll literally be far less informed than if you just basically walked outside, wandered around, smoked a cigarette, took a nap on the sidewalk, and then went back into your house. You would actually be more informed. You go to the corner store, get some Sour Patch Kids, eat them while you stare into the distance. You'll learn more from that. That's my conclusion. And guys, I hope you're having a good time and taking care of yourself. And go get some. You know what? The first commenter on this video gets a free Sour Patch Kids, okay? They get a free Venmo for Sour Patch Kids, and then I want you to send me a video of you eating them, okay? Thank you.